I think AI is as significant, I would say, as the internet and the mobile. In the following sense, that typically when you look at cloud, my grandmother wouldn't care about cloud.
Correct.
But mobile and internet, everyone cares about.
Right.
And AI, everyone will care about. 3 years, 5 years from now, everyone will be using it. So it's as important as that. If I have not invested in technology or any IT at this moment. Of course, to run your business, security becomes very important. So having secure systems which are well connected, where people have access to the tools, whether it's email, Slack, or various other things. So communication of various things using technology platforms is going to be very critical.
What's a tech problem that you wish somebody else would solve very quickly?
I think email management.
Okay, that's very valid. I think all of us just struggle with that, don't we? What is your do big mantra for SMEs?
So all I would say is that don't overanalyze, just do it, go at it, try some experiments and find your way in. The speed at which you operate is your biggest strength. So just take advantage of it and then just do it, I guess.
Welcome to the very first episode of the Tata Tele Business Services Do Big podcast for 2026. Today we have with us an industry veteran, Dr. Anand Deshpande, founder, chairman, and managing director of Persistent Systems. A technologist, entrepreneur, and long-term thinker, Dr. Deshpande has spent over 3 decades building one of India's most respected technology companies. Long before product mindset and deep tech became buzzwords. With a PhD from Indiana University, he has championed knowledge-driven engineering, nurturing thousands of tech candidates across the world. He's played a pivotal role in shaping India's software product ecosystem through iSpirit and other policy forums. What sets him apart is not just scale, but clarity. Clarity about how technology evolves, how value gets created, and what India must do to stay ahead, especially in today's day when AI is challenging us all. We're going to tap into that clarity today to understand what he thinks about what the tech trends are for 2026, what the role of AI is, and what is the growth mindset that SMEs must adopt. Dr. Deshpande, absolutely wonderful to have you here on the Big Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sheetal.
I thought we'd start off with some quick rapid fire icebreaker questions, if you don't mind. It's to get people to know you for who you are rather than just your designation and the company and things like that. You've seen a lot of cycles in technology, right? You've seen the .com, you've seen mobile, cloud, now AI. Which cycles do you think we're overhyping and which ones do you think we're underestimating?
So when you are in the cycle, you always overhype it, right? And when when you look back, you feel like you underhyped it. So I think that's pretty much how it happens. So right now, all the hype is AI. We hyped cloud and mobile as well when it was happening. And of course, there's this few years of hype and then slows down, but then the real solid stuff comes out.
So some of the hype is actually what I call the fad, and some of the hype actually settles down, right? So cloud, for example, hyped, but is very essential to technology. Do you see the same with AI? Do you
100%.
See something else?
No, I think AI is as significant, I would say, as the internet and the mobile. In the following sense, that typically when you look at cloud, my grandmother wouldn't care about cloud.
Correct.
But mobile and internet, everyone cares about.
Right.
And AI, everyone will care about. 3 years, 5 years from now, everyone will be using it. So it's as important as that.
What is that piece of advice that you used to give young engineers, let's say 20 years ago, which you absolutely don't give today?
I shouldn't say absolutely don't, but I'll tell you that I would tell all engineers that you should learn coding. Because coding, I believe that as a programmer, everything can be programmed and that's where the action is going to be. Today, I tell engineers that don't just think about coding, do many more things beyond coding because coding is getting commoditized and coding is now pretty much AI will do better coding than humans.
Correct.
So now you should know more things than just coding.
And non-coders will code. People like me who like to
Will
experiment.
become coders.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And let's say everything resets tomorrow and the internet resets with it. What is that one skill you would want to pick up first if you had to reskill yourself or start skilling yourself again?
I don't know where internet would relate to that, but if I have to learn something, I have no clue about music, so I would probably look at music as something that I should do.
Okay. If you could have a 10-minute, forget 10 minutes, if you could have coffee with anybody who's a historical technologist, who would you want to have coffee with?
Today, if I were to ask this question, I would love to have coffee with Demis Hassabis right now.
Okay, and why that?
Because I think he's thinking very differently about tech and AI and everything else. He comes from a very different background. Seems like a sweet guy.
Okay.
I only listen to him on his video podcast. So I think it'd be cool to have coffee with him.
Okay. And historical, if you had to go back in time and have some coffee?
Well, so I wouldn't mind. I would love to talk to Lokmanya Tilak.
Okay. Fantastic. Last one. What's a tech problem that you wish somebody else would solve very quickly?
I think email management.
Okay, that's very valid. I think all of us just struggle with that, don't we? Thank you for that. That was a quick introduction to yourself. I thought we'd start off, given that this is about 2026 and we're doing this as our first episode of 2026. I just wanted to get a sense from you as to what are the technological trends of 2026 and beyond that SMEs need to prepare for.
So again, SMEs are a lot of things and there is a different thing. So let me sort of break this down into different subsets. So first said, if I were to ask like a 10-year view on what are the technologies that are going to be very important 10 years, within the next 10 years, I would say energy, biology, and intelligence.
Okay.
Those would be my top three. Now, how do they relate to small businesses? Well, I think the future of small businesses will get embedded in these three areas in some form or the other. So to that extent, I think these are areas that if you have to take a bet on something new or different, I would bet on these three broad areas. So now if I'm a very small business and I'm running my business already in something or the other, I think these three would get related in the following sense that intelligence is going to drive all kinds of stuff. I would say human intelligence, of course, by natural intelligence of the people who run the business, but also augmented by other kinds of intelligence that's going to happen, whether it's intelligent agents or intelligent robotics or whatever else. So that's where I think this is going to be very important. And I think biology is going to play a big role in the future of all kinds of things, including healthcare, medicine, for the people and other people around it. And everything is driven by energy at the end of it. And again, I'd like to take a little broader view on energy because I think energy is not just about generation of energy, but if you look at drones or you say you're going to do microorganisms that you're going to swallow and is going to take care of various things, they also are going to need energy. How long will they last will depend on how long their battery life is.
Correct.
So this whole concept of how do I get energy for doing things, even a biological reaction requires its own energy. So energy becomes very critical. Our understanding of energy is going to be important, and intelligence today is constrained by energy.
Interesting. And let's say there is a medium to large, let me say small to medium enterprise who is there, who's saying, I know I can't get away from investing in technology in 2026, has done certain things, but is still deciding what next. What are the first steps and what technologies do you think are absolute must-haves? Which ones do you think are good to have? And which ones do you think one can park for the future once they're
So let me split this technology into IT mainly. Okay, first, and then we can talk about other technologies. Because, all companies will have some level of IT that they are going to use for running their business.
Correct.
And then certain companies are technology companies and we'll take that separately. But if you were to say, okay, what IT should I invest in if I have not invested in technology or any IT at this moment? Of course, to run your business, security becomes very important. So having secure systems which are well connected, where people have access to the tools, whether it's email, Slack, or various other things. So communication of various things using technology platforms is going to be very critical.
Okay.
And most people would have it, but I think there's going to be some level of sophistication that's going to come in. So investing in that and making sure they're secure, robust is going to be very critical.
Okay.
The second set, of course, is that, major functions that any business will have. Of course, one is the customer. The second is your finances. And the third, I would say, is your inventory and other assets that you are managing. So having some systems where you can track what your data is about your customers, and that is typically referred to as the CRM. And again, you have variations of that. So there are small business CRMs that you can do. Your finances, your accounts, they need to be managed using your own IT system of some sort. And then finally, you'll have assets and various other things that are going on. So communication as a theme across all of these things, integration of various themes, these would be the fundamental blocks that I would recommend all companies to invest in. And of course, now you would overlay AI on top of all of these things. And AI has multiple benefits. One is AI will allow you to make decisions and intelligent choices on your data set if you have the data set in the right place at the right time. Also, AI can help you set up your own systems as well to be far more efficient and effective, which is again another benefit that AI will bring in.
So you talked about AI will be able to do it if you have the right data sets.
Yes.
To ensure that they get the right data sets, etc. What is it that SMEs should watch out for? Because garbage in, garbage out is what will happen otherwise. So,
correct. But no data and no data out is even worse than garbage in, garbage out, right? So the first and I think the most important thing is that is the data that you have that runs your business. So if you're an engineering company, maybe you have drawings, designs, a whole bunch of things that are related to that. If you're a store, retail, whatever else, you might have different kinds of data sets. So whatever data sets do you have the data organized in a way so that you can make intelligent decisions that are based on your data? So as they say, data-based decisions is what people want to make. And for making those data-based decisions, you need to have systems that support you to make those kinds of decisions. So I think that's really what I'm referring to. And every business will have different kinds. But every business has customers, so you have to know who your customers are. And how do I know which ones are going to buy from me and how they buy from me? So I have to track and maintain that data set. So that's how one would look at it.
And so one of the other challenges that a lot of SMEs have is that you have data within the system, but they're in silos. So the marketing team will own the marketing data or the customer data. The finance team will have finance. Somebody else will have supply chain logistics data. How can one get a one view of this kind of data for you to be able to take intelligent decisions for risks?
So I think there are two things that are happening. One set is that more and more of these systems are starting to be such that within that same system, especially for SMEs, you're starting to get full packages like Zoho has everything in it, and you can build your own as well, which is now fairly possible because of the text that is available. So meaning you can have a system that is more unified. So instead of having 3 different systems, have one system to start with, and that takes care of it. The other alternative is to build layers of APIs, as they call it. So these are interfaces that you write on top of or are available now. They come default out of the box that will allow you to access data sets across different programs, even though they are in different packages. So these APIs are already available. Now, AI has this other new thing that people talk a lot about called MCPs, which are model context protocols, which are again another layer of APIs, another layer on top of the API, which allows AI programs and in general programs to ask questions which are more, should I say, more informal or less structured, I would say.
Correct.
So in the past, if you had to ask something from your sales data set, you would have had to understand the schema, the tables and all of that, and write SQL, which was convoluted and all of that. Today, with an MCP layer on top of your data sets, you can ask questions from a Claude or a ChatGPT and write unstructured data and still get very structured answers from there. So a lot of this stuff is now starting to become available. And it's available with just a few switches that you turn on. I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot of programming to get this going.
And so that's two sets of tech pieces. Where does cloud and other such technologies sit when you talk about SMEs?
Well, all of these things
investing?
are running in the cloud, right? You don't need to have your own hardware to run all of this stuff. So all of these programs that you're looking at are actually running in the cloud. So today, cloud has become so ubiquitous in some sense that everything is on the cloud. I mean, when you do email today, it's on the cloud in some form or the other. You would run some Slack or any other tools you do, they're all on the cloud. You run video meetings, they're all running in the cloud. So cloud has sort of become the default infrastructure layer for, just like you have electricity, you have wires, you have cloud.
Okay. And let's say if you had to advise SMEs as to what is a good start point, what is a good way to start looking at where to invest in tech, what would be a good start point for them?
That's a good question. So the way I would suggest is that I would do it into 3 parts. One is the improving personal productivity of individuals. So trying to invest in tech so that depending on the kind of work your leaders or people on the team are doing, I think there are now fairly efficient tools that are available that can improve the productivity of the individual. So I think that's one place where one should invest. Of course, these infrastructure components that I talked about, which are for clients, for assets, and for finance, are definitely things that you would put as part of the infrastructure. In addition to that, I think what has happened in the last 2-3 years now with AI and all the other things, people are starting to build co-pilots or improve. So if you have a well-defined process that you do in your business on an ongoing basis, it is now possible to automate that process. Okay. And because of automation, you can improve the productivity of people on the job. So that's the other part where I think some investments can be made in technology that can help you improve your productivity, and overall you will see an improvement in the productivity of a business, and hence better returns are possible. See, what AI is going to do is improve productivity. It's going to improve productivity for every individual at every level in the company. So that is where the action is going to happen.
Are there any technological or business turning points that have really made AI deliver real, measurable outcomes instead of promises?
One, you can use AI, which is the foundational models and everything else, for creative work. So that I think you can do today. And in most cases, AI knows enough about all businesses to the extent that it'll be able to give you very good answers, even if it doesn't touch your data sets.
How can SMEs build a mindset for a 10x growth in 2026 and beyond?
So typically what I believe is business growth is a sequence of S curves. You do some things, you see growth for a period of time, and you flatten out. And you have to reinvent yourselves to find the next orbit and the next orbit.